I think the sector is at quite an exciting crossroads actually, in terms of at least recognising the problems in terms of extending diversity, and now having to come up with some practical solutions to make things happen. There are lots of talented individuals out there, both in terms of BME communities, but also women and people with disabilities, that I think can play a much more prominent role in the third sector. The sector really needs to look at its age distribution, certainly the age range between 16 and 25 and what's happening there. I think it was taken for granted for many years that people could automatically, almost like a conveyor belt, come from community activism into playing roles in wider civil society. Well, the opportunities for that kind of community activism are becoming less and less. So there is a question mark about where is the next kind of layer of individuals in terms of activism that will translate to become those councillors, MPs, and people who are going to be leaders in society, where they're going to get the educational tools to make the leap. I think we're seeing some of the potential problems already. In particular, the notion of identity politics, which has become much more to the fore recently, rather than, I suppose, your conventional and traditional anti-racist activities. And by that I mean notions of ideas that look at society from the perspective of its psychology and its pathology, rather than the question of material change, or indeed an understanding of a starting point from equality. And so, for example, we have a fixation at the moment with notions of white supremacy and what's known as white-splaining, new terms that are scattered around like confetti, that aren't really qualified, but I would argue are creating divisions and rest on assumptions that are fallacious but need to be challenged. If we're not to have the development of an anti-racist movement that actually asserts division over unifying factors, then we're going to have a problem. And I think that there's a tendency to adapt to that view, particularly amongst young people, and for it to go unchallenged. I don't wish to live in a society that's bland, where we don't celebrate difference, where we can't enjoy our cultural differences, whether it be eating different foods or dressing in different ways. But at the same time, when those differences become politicized, I think there's a tendency towards actually creating new problems where problems previously didn't exist, but also being dismissive of differences in terms of class, in terms of political outlook, and social ideas.